Hi, welcome back to Roll or Die. I'm Roger, and this is Diary of a DM. In our first video, I shared my love of fantasy and my love of role-playing games, and I talked about the journey back into Dungeons and Dragons and also the journey back into playing D&D after being away for 25, 30 years. And so we formed a party, we've gotten together, and I thought I would just video log here from my Dungeon Master area on the table and just talk a little bit about each session and what goes on. And hopefully some of you DMs who have a lot of experience might leave some positive feedback, or maybe I might share a tip or two that will be beneficial for new DMs like me. So let me just go ahead and kind of talk about the makeup of what our party is. We're doing the Sunless Citadel out of the Tales of the Yawning Portal book. And I've been told it's a good entry into the DMing world, and it's a good entry in for players to be able to get a good feel for what's going on. I won't share a lot of content ahead until after we've had that session, because I don't want to spoil content for my own players. But let me just talk a little bit about the party, kind of our makeup of who we are as a party. And there's 4 level 1 characters. I have a rogue, Finn. He is an experienced player, and he will probably be the core of the group eventually. And then I also have a sorceress, Lathicus, and he's an experienced player as well. And so they're kind of a good balance for my other 2 players who are brand new to role-playing games in D&D. I have a druid named Kurozi, and he's a newer player. This is his second time. And then my daughter, who is a senior in high school, has jumped in, and she's playing a barbarian, a fierce woman champion barbarian named Celeste, who is the slayer of those who would oppress women. And so she's having a lot of fun with the role-playing side of D&D. So what happened this week? Well, let me kind of tell you how I brought the party, how I kind of brought them together. I had the rogue, I had the sorcerer, the druid, and the barbarian meet on the road coming up to Oakhurst Village and kind of get to know each other. And the hook for the party is there's a noble family in the region whose siblings, whose children have gone missing. The children went looking for adventure. They went into the ravine to try to find the Sunless Citadel and to try to see what treasure they could unearth, and they haven't been seen from in over a month. And so these 3 have banded together. They met on the road. All through the region, there's been reward flyers put up, and they have heeded the call to that. And so they make their way into the village, and in the midst of doing that, they come across our rogue, who was being hung by a group of bandits, and they, of course, rescued him and made their way over to the Old Boar Inn, where they began to learn about the missing siblings and what had been going on. They began to learn about the town, the backstory. They did not learn everything that was available to learn about a story, and I guess that's how some of those work, right? We don't always they're not always going to do what you would want them to do. And so, but they did learn where the Citadel roughly was located, how to get there, and what the reward and stuff was. And the 4 of them decided to band together and go after the missing brother and sister. And then right in the middle of that, I threw kind of a curveball, and I had a farmer rush into the inn saying that something was attacking had been attacking his livestock, that he'd had several chickens had been killed. His goat had been cut up pretty bad. And then his prize cow, his award-winning cow for the milk she produces, and also for the cheese that he makes from her, his award-winning cow, who is in the barn, was making all kinds of noise. And good old Jimmy, Jimlo, as he went to check on the cow, he heard a screech and a holler that turned his turned his heart cold, and he went running looking for help. He was too afraid to even open the door. So my heroes, of course, went over to the barn and they checked things out, and they discovered that there were 2 twig blights had gotten in, and they had killed the cow and were feasting on the blood of the cow. And so they, of course, dispatched of the twig blights, and of course, Farmer Jimmy was nowhere to be found. He had run off. So they decided to do some stuff. Okay, this really brings us to an interesting point. The first lesson that I learned, okay, about being a DM is the players will not do what you think they're going to do. They're not going to do everything you think they should do. And there are several examples of this. First of all, when the bandits had made a bunch of commotion in on the edge of town about to string up my rogue, my barbarian, she decided she's just going to go solo and check things out. So that was interesting, but of course she rolled great and dispatched of the 2 bandits pretty quickly and rescued the rogue and encouraged him to join the party. Some other things that were unexpected that happened. Well, after Jimmy took off and did not pay them the 2 gold pieces he had promised, they proceeded to burn the house down, which I did not expect. And this, of course, drew the attention of the city guard, who came to check things out. And there was a great moment of tension until someone from the inn came running over and said, "Oh no, these folks were here to help Jimmy. They were not causing mischief in and of themselves," and kind of covered their behinds and saved them a little bit. What else unexpected happened? They found a secret lockbox underneath the tool shed in the barn. And I think the one of the funnier things that happened was, instead of leaving the cow, of course, my druid decided to cut it up, harvest the hide, and use the meat to try to barter to get in for free room and board at the inn, which actually worked with the innkeeper. And some of the other things that I thought that was unexpected that happened was that they didn't get nearly as far as I thought they would. So they haven't even left the town yet. I had prepared for them to have a pretty serious combat on the way out of town, and then also had prepared for the Citadel for them to jump in and maybe make a good encounter or 2, or maybe reach the first boss in the Citadel. So there were a lot of things that were unexpected that happened. What about mistakes? I made a lot of mistakes first time. I allowed a druid to shapeshift at level 1, and something inside me knew that wasn't right, but I didn't want to. He was so excited to shapeshift down into a mouse and crawl into the barn and see what was happening that I kind of let it go and said, "Oh, okay, no big deal. It's just a little mouse, you know." I also forgot some saving throws when the blights leaped at 2 of the party members. And I haven't even done any proper battle match yet. It's all been theater of the mind to this point. So we'll have to see what other mistakes I make along the way. So what is my conclusion? It was a blast. It was so much fun. They kept going on and on and on about how much fun it was and how they enjoyed getting into their character, and they enjoyed the story. They liked how I brought in the rogue, and his checkered past has been added to their party, and we'll see if they really get along or not. And they can't wait to get back at it. So next time we have a session, I'll do another video log afterwards. Man, why don't you just go ahead and like and subscribe? Maybe leave a comment. Let me know what you would have done differently. Maybe kind of give me your thoughts that direction. Have you done the Sunless Citadel? What has your experience been with running that in a party? I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Diary of a DM. This is Roll or Die, a channel for all things tabletop gaming. I'm Roger, and I look forward to getting with you again on another episode.